Alright, welcome back to the channel. I'm Steve, your host. Today we're going to be doing rubber band tracks, and I think you're going to be surprised what we can do with them. Rubber band tracks, they bring out the passion in a lot of people. Some people really hate them, some people really like them. Me, I like them because they're easy, and what we're going to do today is I'll show you how to make them just a little bit better. So sit back, enjoy the video. Thanks for stopping by. What we're doing now is we're weathering the tracks. We're going to use acrylics, dark brown and medium brown, and oddly enough, some yellow. And you'll see how we blend it into the track and just make it look more than just a black rubber band or a brown rubber band as an afterthought on your vehicle. So what I've got going now is I've already got the track base coated with NATO brown from Tamiya. So with that, that's a solvent base, and using a solvent base as a base coat for the track it gives it a bit of bite. And from here, we're just going to use acrylics because if you apply this much solvent on the track, it'll just end up dissolving the track at one point. So we're just using acrylics with water, and we're just a very translucent. It's going to be sloppy. The neatness doesn't count in this exercise. And you can see in the foreground, I've got a completed track, and that's what we're aiming for. So now we're going to move into the medium brown, and again I think it's a field drab. And what it's going to do is, again, it's going to be very loose, translucent, and just sloppily applied. And we'll get that on the outside of the track, and then at some point we'll move into the inside of the track. But you can see it looks pretty sloppy at this point. You're probably scratching your head, but as it dries, it all kind of comes into play. It all kind of comes into focus. So now what we're doing is we're adding a little bit more, and we want this really wet, and it's going to kind of wet blend with the already dark brown that's already on there. And what we're going to do on the inside of the track is I don't really do too much with this because you don't really see it. So I'm just going to darken it up a bit or lighten it up with a bit of field drab. And we're going to add a bit more on either side. So now we're going to get lighter. We want to go from dark to light and just build these colors on top of each other. And as you see when it dries, it's a very random, it's a very splotchy appearance, but it looks good. Now that it's dried, we're just gonna see what we do. For me, I just wanted to get a bit more definition on it. I just want to get a bit more color, so you can go back and redo it, and it's no harm, no foul. It's watery acrylic paint. You can apply as many coats as you want and get it the way you want it, because each track on a vehicle has been involved in different terrains and things. So wherever your vehicle is, however you want to match the weathering you've already done, just keep adding the watery acrylics. But once it's dry, what I like to do is I like to get a bit of steel on a very dry brush and just highlight the parts that would come in contact with the ground. Now, I used to make this very shiny, and I find over the years it's somewhat unrealistic. So I've kind of toned it down. On a metal track, you're always going to get, the guide horns are always going to have somewhat polishing. But on a complete metal track, like the Panzer IV track, the road wheels are going to come into contact with the track, and I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of polishing effect. This is optional, up to you. Always do the guide horns if you don't want to do, the contact points for the road wheels and the tracks. That's not an issue, and once you get it on the vehicle, you really don't see it. So it's no harm, no foul either way. And I just want to make sure I've got all the highlighted points hit. And now you can see both tracks, and they're looking pretty good. The other thing you want to pay attention to with the tracks is how they interface with the drive sprockets, with the return rollers, if you have steel wheels and the idler. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting a bit of steel on the points on the drive sprocket teeth that would come in contact with the track. Now each track interfaces, the German tracks seem to, the guide teeth or the drive teeth were always inside, where on the American tanks in World War II with the end connectors, the drive teeth, their connection was on the outside. So you just want to make sure that you're highlighting the polished steel, the polished steel metal bits correctly, where they were actually metal to metal, because rubber to metal probably wasn't going to do it for you. We're going to do the same here on the idler. The idler is a metal. It's almost tube. It's tube-like in construction, so it's sort of hard to paint. I've got some on the outside, which I'll clean up later, but the contact points were definitely, very narrow on the top of the idler. As you can see, this Stug comes with steel return rollers, and the same would apply to the steel return rollers, but in this case, they're just going to be masked by the side skirts. Here's the finished product. I think the tracks integrate very nicely with the rest of the vehicle. There's continuity with the weathering, and I hope you've enjoyed this segment.